Yes, sir. We are live. Sir, we are live.
हाँ sir. Good. Okay. Heartily welcome you, sir. For
Thank you so much, sir.
okay. You can start, sir. Carry on, sir.
Matar, sir? Mat, sir?
Sir, definitely, sir. Sir, definitely, sir. Please carry on, sir. Carry on, sir.
Okay. Okay, sir. Fine. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. I would like to thank Bhagavan Mahavir Jain Ayurvedic Medical College and Hospital, principal, and the president of the institute, and Dr. C.B. Inamdar, who is an organizer, and Dr. Mat is also an organizer, for inviting me to give a guest lecture on understanding of concepts of dooshivisha and garavisha. I wholeheartedly thank each one of you for providing me such an opportunity. Thank you so much, sir, and I will begin with the session now. Thank you. Sir, slide is visible. But sir, slide is visible. Just a minute. But sir, slide is visible.
Yes, sir. It's visible, sir. It's visible. I can see the slide, sir.
Okay, sir. Fine then, sir. Okay, we'll begin with the topic contemporary understanding of the concept of garavisha and dooshivisha. Myself, Dr. Shivanand Kalasannavar, Assistant Professor, Department of Agatantra, Government Ayurveda Medical College, Mysore. So I will be dealing with the introduction, objectives, and the garavisha concept. Before this, we will see into biomagnification, bioconcentration, these concepts. We will understand the ecosystem, how the chemical interact with each other, and then we'll go ahead with the concepts of dooshivisha and garavisha, and contemporary understanding and how to diagnose the case of dooshivisha and garavisha, treatment, discussion, conclusion. Okay. So this is the era of what you call the toxics, right? Each and everywhere you see the chemicals. Each and every day, each and every time we are exposed to the chemicals. So our lifestyle has become completely chemical. Okay. Agada Tantra is such a branch which is most neglected one, but now it is streaming into the limelight, wherein the toxicology has been dealt. Acharya Sushruta has considered this as an Atteka Chikitsa, because all the snake poisonings and animal poisonings all are considered as Atteka only. So such an important branch. So we have important concepts to deal with, because nowadays there is a failure of diagnosis of so many diseases like autoimmune diseases and all, and also there is failure of see each and everywhere as and how the chemicals are being produced in the environment, so they tend to accumulate in the ecosystem. So we see toxicities. We found n number of articles, researches regarding toxicities of the chemicals, but the main thing is we don't have the treatment for them, and we don't concentrate on diagnosis of them. And most of the diseases which are nowadays considered as diseases of unknown origin are idiopathic. The physicians who never think of the toxicology view, they never incorporate the what principles of toxicology into the treatment of such diseases, and they never think of the etiology at all. So with this introduction, we will see what are these concepts, right? The objective of this seminar is to comprehend the concepts of dooshivisha and garavisha with contemporary understanding. So this is a very basic concept, biogeochemical cycle. We need to understand this first. Here we have a biosphere. Just a minute. Okay, we have biosphere here, atmosphere, and the geosphere, anthrosphere, and hydrosphere. So these all 5 spheres, they are all interlinked. The atmosphere means the air, hydrosphere means water, and geosphere means the land, the ground, and anthrosphere means the structures, the buildings, the roads, and the every construction which is there on the earth. That is all anthrosphere. So biosphere means the living stock, what we are living, the living human being. So each and everything will be interlinked here. So remember, any chemical which is produced or introduced into the ecosystem, so that will be remaining in this ecosystem in one or the other form, in one or the other spheres, right? So we think that any chemical which is produced, it is going to be vanished. No, it will be there in the ecosystem in one or the other form. So that means there will be circulation of every matter in the ecosystem, be it carbon dioxide, be it oxygen, the water, or any organic substances, inorganic substances, anything. So that will be there in this ecosystem. So we have 2 kind of substances. First one is biodegradable and another one is non-biodegradable. Biodegradable are the substances, organic substances, which will be degraded by the actions of some microorganisms in the water and ground. So they will be degraded into carbon monoxide or water or the oxygen, like that. And non-biodegradable substances are those which will not degrade or converted into the completely these oxide and carbon dioxide forms. Instead, they will tend to accumulate in the form of hydroxides, sulfides, and carbonates. For example, metals. Take arsenic, which will not be completely vanishing out of the ecosystem. It will be there in the ecosystem in the form of sulfides, carbonates, and hydroxide. For example, if arsenic is there in the ground, so that will percolate into the hydrosphere. It will be transferred to the water, right? So where this arsenic will be water soluble in the form of water dissolving capacity. In the hydrosphere, the aquatic animals will be taking this arsenic, and again the accumulation will be there in the aquatic animals. Again, those fishes, aquatic animals will be eaten by the man. That will be transferred to the biosphere, right? Again, biosphere, they will also, in the biosphere also, there will be accumulation of such substances, and with some part will be accumulated and some part will be excreted. Again, that excreted into the outer atmosphere itself. Like that, this is the chain cycle. Anything, any substance which is there in the ecosystem, that will tend to remain in the ecosystem in any of these spheres. So persistence of chemicals and such metals in the ecosystem is the major threat to the humankind, because the diseases what we are nowadays getting, they are all because of this persistence of the chemicals and bioaccumulation of these chemicals. Organic chemicals like DDTs, organophosphorus compounds, organochlorines, carbamates, so they will all have the higher tendency to bioaccumulate in the lipid tissues. We will see in the next further slides regarding that. So this increased chemicals, persistence of chemicals in the system is being contributed by the industries, can say industries, and the chemicals which we are using, the paint industries, and the waste, right, and the industry outlets. So the n number of things are there. So when this effluent, industrial effluent is on the grounds, it will mix up with the water in the ground, and this chemicals will be taken up by roots of the plants, right? And this chemical will be accumulated back into the plants. Whoever is using these plants, either it may be animal, a cattle, which is eating these grass and all, or the human beings who are consuming the vegetables. So they will be again exposed to these chemicals in such a form. This is the cycle. Another important concept we have here is bioconcentration. So bioconcentration means the tendency of chemical to leave aqueous solution and enter into the food chain. So there is tendency of each and every chemical to move from one form to another form. So they will be keep on moving, right? So if any chemical which is there in the aqueous solution, like in water, fishes are there, right? The arsenic which is there in the water, so that will be transferred to the food chain through the fishes, aquatic animals, right? That is the tendency. So persistent lipophilic means fat-seeking, poorly metabolized toxicants tend to persist and to increase in concentration in higher trophic levels of organisms rather than lower trophic level organisms. For example, in man, so there is tendency of accumulation of more toxicants, right, because of lipophilicity. So the chemicals are lipophilic, they will tend to accumulate more in the human body. Biomagnification is such a thing that these toxicants will accumulate in a particular species, right? And it will again be distributed into all the species which are there in the ecosystem. Thereby, that chemical will be at the place. For example, industrial areas. In industrial areas, due to industrial effluents, so there will be accumulation of the toxicants which are emitted out by the industries at that particular area. So there, in the industrial area, the ground will be polluted because of biomagnification of that chemical. And if ground is contaminated or toxicated, then that will percolate into the groundwater. Again, we will get the groundwater also toxicated. And if groundwater is also toxicated, then the plants which are grown over that area is also toxicated. So whole that area we can consider it as the polluted or the toxicated area. The persons who are living in that, again, in one or the other form, they are being exposed to those chemicals. Another important thing is this bioaccumulation and magnification, this all depend on the bioavailability of that substance. Any substance, right, which is more bioavailable to an organism, so that will be more accumulated in the body. Tendency of a substance to enter an organism system upon exposure, whether it is this, again depends on the hydrophilic and lipophilic. The substances which are lipophilic, they tend to go into the lipid system easily. They will be easily going. And lipophilic are, obviously, they will be stored in the lipid tissues. How they are stored, we will see that. But there are reports that the substances which are hydrophilic, they tend to move on to the lipophilic tissues. Either it may be fish or the man. Right. For example, water-soluble mercury is more toxic. Right? That because that is readily absorbed. Water-soluble substances are readily absorbed, right? And they will be stored in the lipid tissues. They will be lipophilic once they are absorbed. And again, the mercuric vapors, they are readily absorbed by the lungs. So in what form they are, that will be that again impacts over the concentration of that substance. That's why bioavailability of a substance depends on its solubility. whether it is soluble, it dissolves in the water or it dissolves in the lipid. For example, in Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh, more of the places which is being contaminated with arsenic. The ground itself is contaminated with arsenic. We have n number of reports, n number of toxicological studies which are produced with arsenic due to chronic arsenic poisoning through drinking water. The water itself has higher the limits of arsenic compounds in it. So because of consumption of that water, arsenic hyperkeratosis is found, many skin carcinomas are found. So there are n number of reports. So that means if the substance is more water soluble, it will be readily absorbed in the body and stored in the body. That is bioavailability. And third one is bioaccumulation, right? Whenever a substance is dissolved, it is selectively taken up from the water solution and concentrated in tissues, and again it is transported by the blood through highly vascularized tissues to lipid tissues, which serves as storage sink for hydrophobic substance. Again, the same thing. Whenever a hydrophobic substance is being ingested, or when we get exposed to that, so that will be get metabolized. This metabolism happens in the liver. Some form of this chemical will be transformed into some other forms, maybe primary metabolites or secondary metabolites. These metabolites are not so much potent enough to cause immediate signs and symptoms or produce some toxic effects. Instead, they will be nullified with their toxicological properties. So when they absorb, they will enter into the bloodstream. That bloodstream goes to the liver. There it will be metabolized. The secondary metabolites are produced. Some part of that will be excreted out, and some part will be remaining in the body. That will go and settle in the lipid tissues. That means adipose tissues, right? So this transport of this higher blood concentration, higher vascularized tissues to the lower vascularized tissues. Lipid is a lower vascularization tissue, wherein blood circulation is very less. So in this, they will be going and storing. So this the transport of this what called the substances depends on the rate of blood flow, right? And then the degree and strength of that binding capacity of this substance, to the proteins of the blood. That is important thing which we need to consider. If it has more degree and more strength to bind to the blood proteins, then it readily binds to the proteins wherein the immune complexes are produced, and they will be going and settling into the lipid tissues. So this bioconcentration is most applicable under the following conditions. The substance is taken up and eliminated by passive transport processes, and the substance is metabolized slowly or not at all. The substance has a relative lower water solubility, then it will be having a lesser accumulation. Substance has relatively high lipid solubility, then again it is the what accumulation will be, the concentration, body concentration will be more. So this bioconcentration depends on the physical properties of contaminant. The chemical, what are its physical properties, like binding capacity, protein binding capacity, right? So this depends on the again it will be depending on the it will not be depending on the physiological variables such as variable blood flow or metabolism of the substance. No. So this will be completely purely dependent on physical properties of the contaminant. And we have hydrophobicity model of bioconcentration. So that means actually this depends clearly on the dynamic equilibrium between the substance dissolved in aqueous solution and the same substance dissolved in the lipid tissues. There has to be dynamic equilibrium between the both. A substance, arsenic, which is dissolved in the water, which is there in the lipid, dissolved in the lipid tissue, that has to be maintained. If water dissolved concentration increases, then that will tend to go into the lipid tissue. That is hydrophobicity. So they will be phobic to the water. That is, then they will tend to be hydrophilic. So with this introduction, we will head to the Agadatantra. In the definition itself, Vividha Visha Sanyoga Upashamanartham. So the Vividha Visha Sanyoga Upashamanartham means Nana Prakaranam Stavara Janganam Vishanam. So Sanyoga Sangama Tadupashamaya. Acharyas have concentrated not only on the animal poisons and not only on the Stavara and Jangama Vishas, he has also given such a wonderful concept like dooshivisha and garavisha. So combination of these poisons, Nana Prakaranam, Stavara Jangamanam, Vishanam. Combination of these poisons will also emerge out with a certain conditions, fatal conditions. So how to treat that itself there in its and the definition. And also Acharya Charak has told Visha Gara Vairodhika Prasham. The Garavisha itself is there in the definition. So going to the Garavisha, what is Garavisha actually? Simple definition, it goes like Garam Sanyogajam. That means this is the artificial poison. Rather artificial, this is combined. Sanyogajam means combination. Combination of two or more than two poisonous or non-poisonous drugs. It may be poisonous or non-poisonous drugs. Cha Anyat Garasavnam Gada Pradam. Kalantara Vipakitwan is very important terminology what Acharya has given is. So this will tend to Kalantara Vipakitwan. This will be digested in the longer period. Delayed digestion will be there. That means indirectly it tells that there is accumulation, bioaccumulation to attain certain bio concentration. It will not be disturbed. So that will be stayed in the body as it is. Tad asho haratyasun. Based on the combination of the gara, if it is combined of poisonous substances like Vatsanaba, Kupilu and other substances, then it will be killing immediately. Tad asho harati. Right? Tad asho harati. Na tadasho harati means Vipakitwan, na tadasho harati. If it is combined of non-poisonous drugs, then it will not be killing immediately. It will be sustaining the body for longer duration and producing certain diseases like Shofa, Pandu, Udara, Unmada, Durnamadin, Karotiva. So that completely it is dependent on the dose response relationship. That means what is the dose, what is the substance which is being given to. If it is a poisonous mixture, then the person will be killed immediately. Yoga Vashena Ashuhu. Based on the combination and the dose, the person will be killed immediately. And Achirat, again the Yoga Vasha, if non-poisonous compounds are mixed, like you can see Tri, Raja, Sweda, such non-poisonous substances are mixed with the food, then that will be considered as delayed effects will be observed. So this dose-response relationship is the most fundamental one, right, and pervasive concept in the toxicology, which we need to consider. Again, in Ashtanga Hridayakara tells Kritrimam Garasavjnam. Here, Kritrima Visha is by the poisonous drugs and Garavisha is by non-poisonous drugs. So Acharya in yes, in next slide it is there. Composition. Charaka itself tells Nirvisha Dravya Sanyoga Krutam is Gara. Garam to Dvividam. Two types of Gara are there. One is Nirvisha Dravya Sanyoga, that is called as Gara. Savisha Dravya Sanyoga is there, that is Kritrimam. Artificial poison is made up of poisonous drugs and Garavisha is made up of Nirvisha non-poisonous drugs. Which are the non-poisonous drugs? Nana Prani Anga Malaha, Angashaha Malaha, Viruddha Ushri Basmana, Vishanam Cha Alpa Viryanam Yogo Garaiti Smrutaha. Nana Prani Anga, different animal excreta will be collected, right? So that excreta will be mixed with the food and it is given. And again, Viruddha Aushadhi is an important terminology. Here we can consider hypersensitivity reactions, which there are certain drugs or chemicals which are specific to the body composition, right? Human composition, that they will be sensitive, hypersensitive to a particular person. For example, diclofenac may not be hypersensitive for one person. It may be giving hypersensitive reaction to other person. That again, the composition of the body, it depends on that. So such viruddha aushadhis also will be causing this gara. And again, vishanam cha alpaviryanam. Vishanam cha alpaviryanam means the drugs which are having less potency, or very in the minute doses. Each and every drug in the minute dose, it will be alpavirya only, right? Here alpavirya, we can consider n number of chemicals which are to which we are exposing in day-to-day life, right? We will see next what are those. So how this gara is been administered? Saubhagyartam striya, to retain their saubhagyata, these women usually in earlier days what they used to do, they used to mix sweda, raja, nana, angajan, mala. Their sweda and their menstrual fluid and other nana, angajan, mala, right? The excreta of other orifices they used to mix with the food and they used to give. And this will also be given to the shatru pariktamsha, to kill someone or to get vashikaran of them. They used to do this shatru pariktamsha garan prayachanti anna mishritan. This is very important thing, anna mishritan. That means gara is most of the times this will be anna mishritan if you consider gara, whereas if you consider kritrima visha, that is poisonous, garavisha, which is non-poisonous substances which are given mixed with the food. For example, food we can consider nowadays, we can consider all the food additives, right? Coloring agents and what you call flavoring agents, right? So these are all the chemicals we are using. So these all chemicals are poison itself, but they are given in a permissible limits. The limit is there, dose is there, to what extent they have to be mixed with the food. For example, in canned food, right, prepared food, so they used to give mix with these chemicals. So if we expose to these chemicals for a longer duration repeatedly, then that will tend to accumulate in the body, and they will once upon a time it will give out with the diseases. And again, viruddha aushadhi, basmanam, the medicines, OTC drugs and all, whatever we are taking, so they will also be considered as a gara itself. So Acharya Sushruta has given certain or through just a minute. Sushruta has given some external trials, that means procedures or the routes through which the gara is being introduced to the person. Anna through food, pana through the drinks, whatever he is taking. Danta kasta even, you can consider the toothpaste is also considered. Through toothpaste also the visha can be administered. But nowadays we don't find that mixing poison in the toothpaste by someone to kill some other thing, some other person. This is we don't find, and we don't have the reports also. But we are knowingly or unknowingly we are exposed to such chemicals as a routine, because the composition of the toothpaste, if you see the list of chemicals what they are using, they're all carcinogenic, right? Even though if they are in a minute quantities, we are exposing to those chemicals daily, on the daily basis, right? Earlier in the ancient lifestyle, if you see, we don't have these pastes. We were never being exposed to those chemicals, but the Western culture has intruded such many chemicals into our day-to-day lifestyle. Again, if you take abhyanga, when the oil can be mixed with the poison, and avalekana, combing, okay, utsadane, kashay, utsadane means rubbing with the powder, the powder can be mixed with the poison, and the kashaya, whatever we take, aushadas, and then parisheka, in the parisheka liquid also the poison can be mixed. Anulepane, cosmetics, this is the most relevant one, and the most day-to-day life, whatever we are exposed to is the anulepana, cosmetics. Rather than we are moving to the toxic beauty. So with a higher consciousness of beautiness, So that may look good to the people, look good to the whoever seeing us, but inside that has become the toxic beauty, because the chemicals, the list of chemicals, that is endless. The list is endless, and the cosmetics which are there in the market, there are also, the list is countless. We are being exposed to such chemicals. For instance, I will take an example: Johnson and Johnson baby powder, right? So that powder is being used to the infants, children's, right? Powder regularly. They will propagate through the ads like baby powder, Johnson baby. And the people obviously see the ads and they will go with that. They purchase and they use. In US, a lady has used this powder, which contains asbestos, for a certain longer duration, right? Longer years. And then finally, she could prove to the court that because of use of this asbestos, which is a carcinogenic, because of that, the child of her has got some cancer, skin cancer, because of using that powder, Johnson and Johnson powder, for a longer duration. And court has agreed that and uplifted her plead, and they have they gave a compensation of 200 million US dollars. You don't imagine, 200 million US dollars to her. The Johnson and Johnson company has to pay her, and they immediately banned that powder using asbestos in that. So that is, she has proved and she got the compensation, right? Like that, that is one instance and one case she has come up with, and she proved that. But the cancer, the oncology department is now crowded. We don't know which patient has exposed to which chemical. We don't know, and we cannot even trace to that chemical also. That much complexity of use of and exposure to that chemical has become now. And Srakshu means the ornaments, mala, gandha mala, flowering in flower garlands, a green color, malachite green. So that color is used to give out bright color to the mallika, to flowers. So they will dip this garland into malachite green mixed water. They will dip and lift. That green will give brighter color to those garlands. Again, if we use that, again we are exposed to that malachite green. So that is again a carcinogenic, and we are having chances of getting those. And vastreshu, few people will be having clothing allergies, right? And shaya means the bed, kavacha, abharana. Earlier they used to have kavachas. They used to get that allergy or toxic presentations because of that kavacha. So only thing is, in older days they used to mix visha to these roots, and they used to give to the person, the Raja or the king, if with the intention to kill him or to degrade him. What they used to do, they used to smear this visha combination to his kavacha, and they used to give him. Whenever they used to wear, they used to get the signs and symptoms. Abharana also, they used to mix this or do the lepana of visha to the abharana. Whenever a person wears that, he used to get the toxic signs and symptoms. Thereby he will be having the ill health. But nowadays there are no such instances, but the materials itself are poisoned. If you take abharana visha, few people will be having nickel allergy to the nickel, like wristwatch allergy is also there, right? With that you will get contact dermatitis due to that nickel. And paduka, padapite, so footwear dermatitis also you might have seen, and because of sitting or gajavajana, prosteshu, there also visha can be smeared. These are all the roots of administration of the garavisha poison into the body. And again, these are all the same roots where we are being exposed to the chemicals. So Nana Prani Angamala, we can consider the animal and human feces, excretas, urine, blood, semen, sweat, and menstrual fluid, which is mixed to the food and given. And prani anga, again we can consider the apakwa mamsa here. Apakwa mamsa, which is unprocessed or ill processed meat, which is stored for a longer duration and which is used. And the medicines which are used in the poultries as a growth promoters, synthetic estrogens, antibiotics, colistin, these drugs are given to poultry chicken. So if we are readily using this meat in the outside in hotels and all restaurants, right? So these growth promoters or the drugs or medicines which are used there, they have tendency to be deposited in their tissues, obviously in the muscular tissues, right? So if you eat that, again that substance or the chemical which we will be exposed. Again, contaminated meat, microorganisms, virus, and these certain viruses will produce certain toxins, and some funguses will produce mycotoxins. So they will be causing certain kind of ill health to the person. And surprisingly, we will be exposed to the rodent excreta. Usually in the grain storages, so we will usually found these rats, rodents. So and wherever a rat is there, it has to defecate, and the urination and even the shukra, mushaka is considered, visha is considered to be most potent will be the shukra, right? If you see in the modern aspects, the leptospira bacillus, which is there in its excreta, almost all the rodents excreta, which will be mixed with the food grains, and we use that. So through that also we may be exposed to the chemicals. There are n number of reports that health risk associated with meat consumption. So epidemiological study, there was a larger study who have concluded that meat intake and mortality. Another important article which I got is subjects who consumed more red meat tended to be married earlier. They are more likely to be current smoker and have a higher body mass index, and they have a higher daily intake of energy, total fat and saturated fat, whereas they tended to have a lower education level, very less physically active, consumed less fruits, vegetables, fibers, fruits and supplements, which instead has increased the risk of cardiovascular diseases, exposed to the cancers and other chronic illnesses, autoimmune diseases. So that means I'm not criticizing any community here eating the meat, but what meat we are eating, that is also important. So increased use of this meat has increased risks of cardiovascular diseases. So in Ayurveda also we get the reference of eating meat, but that meat is different, and what meat we are eating now, so that is all contaminated with the chemicals. So that's why there is increased risk of these diseases. Then Viruddha Aushadhi Bhasmanam, which refers to in one tika we found that Deha Viruddha Aushadhi. Deha Viruddha Aushadhi we can consider hypersensitive drugs to a particular person. In the last few minutes back I explained that the drug can be hypersensitive to a person, may not be to the person B, right? And we have adverse drug reactions. About you will wonder about 45% of the ICU admissions in the US are due to adverse drug reactions. So because of the medical treatment itself, there are chances of getting admitted to the ICU is 45% higher in the US. See how we are being exposed to the chemicals, the drugs, and illicit combination of drugs. Like if you take D-cold, Medicold, so anti-cold tablets. So there is illicit combination. Because of this illicit combination of the drugs, so there will be interreaction between them, chemicals, and they will be giving out certain adverse drug reactions. And also we have long-term people who are using long-term medicines like anti-tubercular treatments for 6 months, 1 year. and antiretroviral treatments, and the use of statins for a longer time, and quinines, and contraceptive pills people are using, and hormonal injections and pills, and anti-cancerous medications. So we a lot of drugs, simple, including paracetamol drug, from beginning from paracetamol drug up till the anti-cancerous drugs. Each and every drug has their own side effects, and for their longer duration, chronic exposure tend to accumulate that metabolite into our body. Viryanam cha alpam, ahara samproktam. Right? Viryanam cha alpam means we can consider in Gara itself they have told ahara samproktam or annam mishritam. These alpavirya chemicals means the substances which are diminished their potency level because of the metabolism, right, or by nature itself, swabhavatva guna, by nature itself their virya may be lesser. For example, preservatives are there and flavoring agents are there. When you go to the market, you will get an attracting color to the food. Food are very attractive nowadays: pink color, green color, blue color. You may attracted to red color, right? So such different colors. Do you think all these red colors, green, blue, are organic? No way. Flavors. You get in the off season, you will get a mango flavored lassi, right? Or else you get the mango flavored juices. Do you think are they prepared out of the mango itself? No. They are all the chemicals which will mimic the flavors of the fruits. Cake, mango flavored cake, you will eat, right? Is there a mango in it? No, there is no mango at all. There is a mango flavoring chemical which is added to that cakes and anything you take. So that's all being sweeteners are there, right? Ajinomoto is actually a brand name. Monosodium glutamate is such a most dangerous substance which is used in all Chinese and fast food centers. This monosodium glutamate increases taste. That will form an addiction. So you will tend to eat that. If you eat gobi manchurian now in one shop, if they added this MSG to that tasting powder, then you will tend to have the same gobi manchurian from that shop itself, because that is the addiction which is caused by this monosodium glutamate. On the other hand, this will be having serious cancerous effects. This is a very cancerous carcinogenic drug. And sweeteners are there, coloring agents. I told this, but it is almost like a terrorism. You can call food terrorism, and we ourselves are doing terrorism, and we are funding it, right? That terrorism, we are funding it, and we are the victims of that terrorism, you can call. That's why whenever you go out to the market to eat something, right? So each and everywhere, each and everything which will be, there is no food which is not mixed with the colors. If you take fast foods, see sunset yellow color is there, allura red color, brilliant blue color, right? Attractive colors. You name a color, that will be there in the food. That is not because of the natural color, that is added color. Sodium metabisulfite is there, annatto is there, sodium benzoate is there, right? Aspartame is there, cyclomer, sulfur dioxide. These are all the chemicals which are there in the food, right? You will not be experiencing any signs and symptoms soon after eating that, because viryanam cha alpam, they are alpavirya, right? Soon after ingestion, you will not get the signs and symptoms. Again, the food adulteration, that is the food preparation part, and the adulteration is also very vast thing, and this is actually burdening the population, not only humankind, also to the living stock, right? If you go to the market, we will see different varieties, different colored turmeric in the market. So one turmeric will be brighter, one will be dull, right? You name a color, all the shades, yellow shades you will get in the market. So do you think all that color is because of the turmeric itself? No. The secret is methanol yellow and lead chromate. So these methanol yellow and lead chromate, which are yellow in color, they are easily available and very cheaper than turmeric. They are mixed with the turmeric powder and they are sold. There are n number of reports, n number of researchers who found these lead chromate and methanol yellow in the turmeric. And we are not going to check that. Whichever is brighter, we bring it from the market and we use in the kitchen, right? And the chili, the brighter colored chili, the rhodamin B is mixed. Chemical rhodamin B is mixed, so that to attract the people, chili are mixed with this rhodamin B. And milk is being adulterated with urea, detergent, starch, and to the bad luck, we have got synthetic milk also, right? Completely chemical milk, and there are such n number of reports are there. So in one newspaper, I got 15,000 liters of adulterated cooking oil seized by FSSAI. So in cooking oil, argan oil is mixed, liquid paraffin oil is mixed. Most dangerous one, and they are all carcinogenic. So 15,000 liters of such things are being seized by the FSSAI. And another report, 2 brothers turned millionaires in 7 years because of selling synthetic milk. Synthetic milk that is completely what you call chemical milk. So they will mix glucose, urea, refined oil, milk powder, water. Okay, they will mix everything and even hydrogen peroxide. They will sell. So that's why they are millionaires now, right? And in ghee, animal fat is there, vegetable oil is mixed, starch is mixed, and fruits to ripen the fruit, calcium carbide is they are dipped into calcium carbide solution, right? And we have seen the plastic rices in the WhatsApp. You might have seen the videos. Plastic rices are also mixed in, adulterated. So we are knowingly and unknowingly exposed to such kind of chemicals, contaminants in the body, in the market, and we are exposed to that. And what would be the fate, right? Obviously, and the cosmetics, the toxic cosmetology. If you see the foundations, mascara, lipstick, fragrance, body lotion, deodorant, sunscreens, nail polish. Toluene is there. Toluene is such a carcinogenic drug which is used in the nail polish. Blushes, to give out blushes. So I don't know names of all those makeup stuff, right? So n number of, if you enter a mall, there are big stuff of this cosmetics you see. So they're all nothing but the chemicals. Even if any brand which is selling in the name of Ayurveda, completely herbal, so you cannot completely go herbal without mixing the chemical. So basic composition of the toothpaste, right? Toothpaste basic composition should be, it should be in the paste form. Whenever it is mixed with water and rubbed to the teeth, it should give out foam. For this process, we need chemical. Whatever the other brands, famous brands, they are telling it as a completely Ayurvedic, completely herbal. No, they will add simply extract of miswak to that paste. They completely add extract of some neem to that one, right? So there is mixture of only extracts of the herbal things to the basic composition of that paste. So by only mixing that, it cannot be called as completely Ayurvedic or completely herbal. No. Again, in that also, we are being exposed to that. So this cosmetic toxicology, this is a very emerging branch now, and we have seen lot of such toxicities because of using this. So many serious diseases, what we have seen in the reports, research articles with this. Then artificially sweetened beverages, what we drink. So they are inducing stroke, coronary heart diseases, and all cause mortality in the Women's Health Initiative. So we have reports. Asbestos toxicity is there, an immunological perspective. So they are all tell that whatever we are exposed to, they are all chemical and they are all toxic. To give a certain example, lead is there in the toothpaste, which is a neurotoxic. Butyl acetate is there in the nail polish, and toluene is also there in the nail polish, which is again a carcinogen. Coal tar is there. Diethylamine is foaming agent. So this is required for foaming agent for in the paste as well as in the shampoos. And 1,2,4-dioxane is there, right? Carcinogenic agent. Formaldehyde, which is genotoxic, which is carcinogenic. Immune system damaging properties are there in this formaldehyde. Fragrance, which disrupts normal endocrine functions. Phthalates, developmental defects and delays. Mercury, which is used in the makeup, and toluene, hair color and nail polishes, which is going to cause ovarian cancer, reproductive and developmental damages. So with this, all these reports, so I don't think we should go for this cosmetics. Garavisha Adhisthana, there are oral and sublingual like Annapana, Dantakashta, Kasha is there, Acula Ranjanadi, vaginal Dhavana, Pichu, Uttarabasti, and rectal Basti and Pichu. Through all these routes, poison can be given. We have all discussed this one. So to wind up, all these following factors can be considered as Garavisha. That means Viruddhahara, Ahitahara, fast foods, cold beverages, alcohol, tobacco, and drugs, pesticides, metals, minerals, pollutants, cosmetics, everything which is in which there are chemicals in smaller amounts, so they all can be considered as Garavisha. That means Garavisha is a hetu, nidana, which will be causing some diseases. If you see the Lakshana presentation, Pandu, Krusha, Alpagni is there, right? We have neuro and psychological diseases, we have metabolic diseases, we have hematological and immune diseases like motor neuron diseases, OCDs, depressions, atrophy of muscles, right? Dyspnea will be there, decreased appetite, right? Appetite, and autoimmune diseases, cancers, organomegalies. So they are all because of this Garavisha itself. We have in the shloka itself, Pandu, Krusho, Alpagni, Kasa, Shwasa, Jwara, then Vayu Pratilomena, Swapna Chintaprayana, Mahodara, Yakrutplihi, Deenavag, Durbalo Alasaha, Mahodaraha, ascites, Yakrutplihi, organomegaly, Deenavag, Durbala, Alasa, Deenavag's very diminished speech will be there. Shofavan, so body will be edematous. Satata Admataha, Shushka Padakaraha, Pada and Hasta will be Shushka, they will get dry. Kshaya, Swapne Gomayu Marjara Nakula Vyala Vanara. So he will say all this Gomayu Marjara Nakula Vyala Vanara, he will say in the dreams. Prayaha Pashtati Shushkacha Vanaspati Jalashayam. He will see the dry place in case of a Jalashaya, a lake or river, and you will see moisture in or water in case of Shushka Pradesha. So these are all certain things. And Yetairannascha Bahubhi Klishto Ghoreir Upadravahi. So you can name any disease. There are these are the names of the diseases for only for example. Other than this, you may get Bahubhi Klishto Ghoreir Upadravahi. Ghora Upadrava. Most dangerous diseases also may be produced because of exposure to this, such kind of things. And Chikitsa would be Gararto Vantavan Bhukta Tatpatyam Pana Bhojana. If he is only because of the Garavisha, acute, actually this treatment is for acute treatment of the Garavisha, Kritrima Visha you can consider. Gararto immediately you have to give Vantavan Bhukta. Vamana has to be carried out. And Tamra Bhasma is given for Hridaya Shodhana. Tatpatyam Pana Bhojanam, right? Patya. And then Shuddham Hridaya Shilaye. Hridaya Shodhana has to be done with the help of Tamra Bhasma. And then Suvarna Bhasma is told to administer, right? In the dose of 1 shana. That is 3 grams of Suvarna Bhasma after Hridaya Shodhana. First Vamana, then Hridaya Shodhana by Tamra Bhasma, then followed by Suvarna Bhasma with following all the Patya. We have certain other drugs like Kaivisha Parihari Gurika as it is used in the Kerala, right? Kaivisha means Garavisha, Kaivisha. With the help of hand, which is given, fed by hand itself, that is Kaivisha. So to kill that Visha, Kaivisha Parihari Gurika is given. Murvadi Agada is there, Paravata Shakrataya and one more Agada is there. So this Suvarna Bhasma administration will kill or will mitigate all the vishas as like Hemah Sarva Vishani Ashu Garascha Vininchanti Na Sajate Hema Pange Visham Padmadale Muvat. Or the Padmadala, leaves of a Padma, how the drop of water won't stay. So like that, the person who has administered with the Suvarna Bhasma, the Visha will not stay in his body. So this is what Acharya used to tell. So with this, the basic main concept, that is dooshivisha, we will enter. Dooshi means altered, denatured, attenuated, latent. You can call chronic one or cumulative one, right? Which is vitiated. Visha means poison. That means a latent poison, denatured poison, altered poison. You can call, or cumulative poison also. You can call to the dooshivisha. Then what is difference between this dooshivisha and garavisha? Right? Garavisha we saw now. Garavisha is a nidana. That itself there in the definition of on dooshivisha. Yat stavaram jangamam krutrimam va dehat ashesham yat anirgatam tat. That means any poison or which is administered to the person, either it could be sthavara visha, right? That means inanimate poison, all khanija visha will come under this, all chemicals will come under this sthavara visha. Then second one is jangama visha. If he is having past history of snake bites or any insect bites, right, or scorpion bite, animal poisons, any of the animal sources, if he has history of that, or else if he has history to exposure to the kritrima visha. Kritrima visha here is the garavisha. If the person has exposed to the garavisha, then if these are all, dehat ashesham yad anirgatam. So the part of that will be retained in the body. So they will not be completely cleared out of the body, retained in the body itself, right? So this will be the nidana for that. This will be the nidana. Nidana means sthavara visha, jangama visha, garavisha. These three things will be causative factor for the dooshivisha. They stay in the body, part of that visha stay in the body, and they will not be completely eliminated out of the body. Then he tells how this dooshivisha develops. Jirnam visha gnaushadivir hatam va davagni mata tapashoshitam va sabhavata va gunaviprahinam visham hi dooshivisam upaiti viryalpa bhavan na nipatayet tat kapavratam varshagananubandhi. Jirnam, right? Jirnam, chronic one. We see bioaccumulation and bioconcentration. So the chemicals to which we are exposed, they tend to stay in the body for longer duration. That is the jirnam, right? They will tend to stay in the body, accumulate in the body for a longer duration. Vishagnaushadibir hatamuva. So even if you have treated them with antipoisonous drugs, vishagnaushadis, after treating with vishagnaushadis, or else you might have or else davagni vata tapashoshitam. That may be undergone detoxification by davagni, that is the fire, and vata, air, and the atapa, sun. Through these factors, if it is shoshitam, that means this is the metabolism. Even after ingestion, the drug has to go into the metabolism. After metabolism, the potency will be diminished, and the metabolites which are produced out of that metabolism, so they will be the having gunaviprahinam, viryalpam. They will be having less potency, right? That means they will be circulating in the body and they will get deposited in some tissue. Swabhavatava gunaviprahinam, or else because of naturally they will be having less gunas. So usually dashaguna, to call it a visha, we need dashaguna. So if gunaviprahinam means 1 or 2 gunas, it may be ruksha and tikshna, ushna, tikshna. Like out of 10, it might be having 2 to 3 gunas. So that poison will not kill the person immediately. So that poison which is having deprived of the gunas, which will be tendency to stay in the body. Visham hi dushi vishatam upayate. That will be producing the Dushivisha. Virya alpa bhavan na nipatayit. Because of that metabolism and reduction in its potency will not be completely eliminated out of the body. Kaphavrutam varshakanamubandi. Kaphavrutam is again which is stored in the lipid tissues. Kaphavrutam is we have explained all the modern parameters now. The metabolite, second metabolite, or the substance which is moving from hydrophilic, in water soluble form to the lipid tissues, or the higher concentration of blood flow from that region to the lower concentration of blood flow, that is lipid tissues, adipose tissues. That is, once this concentration, the chemical will go and settle into the lipid tissue, and again the lipid will be go on depositing over there. That means kaphavrutam. It will be embedded with the kapha, and this condition will be staying for a longer duration. Varshakananubandhi. For years together, the person will be as it is without any signs and symptoms. So that the person is dushitam. Himself, he is got this dushivisha within him, but he is not expressing the signs and symptoms. So we need some aggravating factors, right? Aggravating factors to expose this clinical symptomatology. This is Jangama. This all things we learnt, right? See here, aggravating factors. Dushitam, the person who has got the dushivisha, right? When he is exposed to desha, kala, anna, divaswapna, abhikshnasaha, punaha punaha. Desha means anupaha prabhuta anila shita varsha. Desha means the person, the affected person who is staying in Anupadesha, right? In Anupadesha, there will be prabhuta anila and shita varsha. Colder season will be there in the Anupa varsha. Because of that, the person may aggravated with his condition. How this Shitata will aggravate the condition like Visha? Basically, Visha is the Ushna. We need Ushna to increase this poison. And even as it is Kaphavrutam, which is enveloped by the Kapha, right? We need Ushmata to do Kapha Vilayana. So once the Kapha Vilayana takes place, the Visha condition will aggravate. To aggravate this, we need Ushmata. But in Anupadesha and Kala, if you see Shita Anila Durdinadi, Rutu, if you take Hemanta and Shishira, right? And with these Shita conditions, how the Dushivisha will get aggravated? This is actually a question, right? In such conditions, what happens? If there is Shitata outside the in the environment, the body has to cope up with its own internal temperature. The internal temperature has to be maintained. If atmospheric temperature is dropping up, so body has to produce heat within. To produce the heat within, so there will be shivering. For example, if you take shivering in too much colder conditions, we will get shivering. So what is this shivering? Shivering is actually a protective mechanism, right, to increase the body temperature. Frequent what you call contractions of the muscles, every muscles, right? These muscles will increase the heat in the body, internal heat in the body. By that shivering, the body tries to cope up with the temperature, so that will try to increase the temperature. In this process, increasing temperature of the own body temperature, there will be Kapha Vilayana, right? Abhyantara Ushmata will be increased. Because of that, Kapha Vilayana takes place. Because if you see, this poison is stored in the lipid tissues, adipose tissues, and the energy which we are getting, right, in starvation and all, and if you are when you are not there sufficient glucose and all, these are energy sources. Lipid adipose tissue is the energy source. The body will get energy from that lipid tissue only. In such condition, to increase the body temperature, so it will draw energy from the lipid tissue only. So during that conversion of that lipid stored tissue, so the poisons, the bioconcentration, the bioaccumulation of that poison which is there in the adipose tissues, that will get triggered out and which will erupt out, right? That will aggravate the condition called dooshivisha. So that is, and again annam is there, sura, tila, kulata. So they are all ushna tikshna guna. By that ushna and tikshna guna also kapha vilena takes place. By that also the person will get aggravated with the conditions. And in varsha kala, shita kala, like hemanta, shishira, so the persons who are suffering with these diseases, for example asthma, if you take the skin diseases, autoimmune diseases, they will increase themselves. You might have seen in the clinics and in the practice, during the particular season like hemanta, shishira only, the person and varsha rutu, these conditions will aggravate. Allergies, hypersensitivity reactions, urticaria, skin conditions like psoriasis, lichen planus, everything, they will get aggravated in such condition only because of dooshivisha. That means if there is aggravation of the conditions in these seasons, then there should be the dooshivisha. And vyayama, vyavaya, krodadi, bhir api ityartham. That means vyayama and vyavaya also, doing how this aggravate the dooshivisha means, during doing vyayama, that is exercises, so that will vyayama and vyavaya also increase the metabolism inside the body. Because of increased metabolism, that resultant of the metabolism itself is a heat production. That heat will be produced inside the body. Because of that heat, we need stored energy during exercises, right? During over exercises, we need stored energy. So stored energy again we draw from this adipose tissue. Then again there will be kapha vilena and aggravation of the condition. That's why dooshivisha, the person who is affected with dooshivisha, or doing over exercises and living in exposing to such shita anila durdina, and you can also take the exposure to the AC environment, the people who are working in the ACs, in those and one more thing is the person who are working in the AC. So there will be a lot of people, for example 100 people are working in the AC environment, nobody is getting aggravated with the factors, diseases. The sneezing and hypersensitive reactions, itching and everything. Why? Because they are already been affected, they are in the state of dooshivisha. This is the avastha. Dooshivisha means avastha, garavisha means nidana. In that avastha, they will, if they expose to shita anila, like in AC, then the symptoms will aggravate. That's because they aggravate in shita anila, because again the visha yoni is ambu itself, right? Shita, ambu itself is the yoni. Tad varshat ambu yonitvat, right? Ambu, because of that, we will get aggravated the factors. So simply to simplify the concept of dooshivisha, I have put one chart here. Exposure to stavravisha, jangavisha or garavisha, because of heenaguna and alpavirya dravya exposure, so they will be for longer duration, even after by treatment and all, and there will be suppressed by the antipoisonous treatment and exposure to the fire, and again they will be converted into low potent poison, right? And then after this there will be kaphavarana over that. Wherever they are stored, there will be kaphavarana, so which will be stayed for varshagananubandhi, stagnant for years. Whenever they are exposed to the aggravating desha, kala, anna, and there will be aggravation of the condition. Karoti dhatu prabhavan vikaran. So dhatu pradoshaja vikara, wherever in whichever system the accumulation is there, the diseases related to that are produced. So this is the condition called as dooshivisha. This is the pathogenesis we have discussed. Lakshana need not have to be particular with the disease. A patient comes with a signs and symptoms, such chronic illness, and he has a history of dooshivisha. We don't need to match up that disease with the signs and symptoms that are there in the Samhita, right? So it is not mandatory that that condition, that disease should be there in the Lakshana of the dooshivisha, because Acharya has clearly told Stitam rasadishu atava yathoktan karoti dhatu prabhavan vikaran. So wherever, in whichever dhatu it goes and settles, there dhatu prabhavan vikaran. Exposed to Shita, Anil, and Durjina. Science and so them are autoimmune disease and metabolic diseases, skin diseases. Most of this, and Acharya Charaka Dushtyaru Kitiba Kod. So Dushivisha primarily affect the Rakta, Shonita Dushti. Initially, Shonita Dushti will be there, because once the chemical is absorbed into the body, that has to enter the bloodstream itself. Through bloodstream only it will goes and settle into the another tissues, another organs or another systems. That's why Acharya Charaka has told Shonita Dushti as a prime symptom or the pathogenesis, cause of pathogenesis in the Dushivisha conditions. And we have Kshapayecha Shukram. So such oligospermia, infertility cases which are with day by day we are getting more cases. The infertility clinics are flooded now. Kshapayecha Shukram. Who knows who has been exposed to such chemicals, and who may be in the avastha of dooshivisha, right? And kushtam. Most of the times the maximum disease what we are getting is kushtam and autoimmune diseases and the cancers. So these are all we can consider under this one. And you can consider psychological disorders and teratogenicity, genotoxic disorders, all we can be considered into this. Chronic toxicity, which can be considered as cumulative. So we have already discussed this, but I have two more concepts to tell you. So then we have the agents whose residence time in the body for outlast their duration of effective concentration. So if you take any drug, it has certain duration, right, to stay in the body. If you take paracetamol, it has to stay for such a time, for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, days, years, months. You can call, right? So the substances or the drugs what we are taking, that has to be there for their period only, that half-life period only. They will be having half-lives, right? So after completing their effect, for example, paracetamol, it has to bring down the temperature. Its action is over. So it goes into the liver. It will be metabolized, and primary metabolite which is produced out of that metabolism, that will be going and acting over hypothalamus to reduce the temperature. And after that doing its action, it will be again converted into some other form which can be known as secondary metabolite, which will be excreted out of the body. That metabolism, that secondary metabolite has to be excreted out of the body. There is a case that, so all that secondary metabolite, all the form of secondary metabolite which is there in the body, it cannot be completely excreted out of the body. A part of that will be retained in the body, which will be settled in the liver, or which will be deposited in the liver. That's why chronic use of the paracetamol will cause hepatotoxicity. That is a hepatotoxic drug. The person who is taking paracetamol for years together daily, so then obviously he will be victim of the hepatotoxicity. Understood? Like that, whenever residence time of that drug in the body, if it increases, okay, than its effective duration of active concentration, then that agent will tend to settle in the body, right? And other drugs which have naturally have biological more longer biological half-lives, right? Concentration and longer biological half-lives, concentration may fall to ineffective level, right? Secondary metabolite, it is ineffective because it has done its effect. It has reduced its temperature, body's temperature, and secondary metabolite is ineffective level long before the drugs disappear from the body. So that is viralpata or gunahinata, right? And tendency of accumulation upon repeated exposure. Total amount in the body is sufficient to produce toxicity. This accumulation, bioaccumulation, or the bioconcentration of that drug in the tissue, it will be cumulative. It will be adding. As and how you expose to that, it will be adding. You are using a chemical, for example, hair dye you are using. So that chemical which is touching to the skin, that will be absorbed through the skin, and that will be settled in some tissues, skin, right? The daily there will be if you are using it on and often, so that concentration will be adding up. Cumulative effect will be there. Once it reaches to the sufficient quantity to produce the signs and symptoms, and when he exposed to the aggravating factor, so that will burst out with a skin lesions or skin cancers or keratosis, any number of diseases what we can see. And the people who are working in the heavy metal industries, the people who are working in lead battery industries, right? And the people, just a minute, okay. The people who are working in lead battery industries, and they are exposed to the lead, acid battery industries. They will be handling the lead with their hands. So the person who are working there, they will be exposed to the lead. So there are n number of reports that the persons who are working in the battery industry, they have got the chronic lead toxicities. And I probably I will say that you people, the UG students of this college, probably have learned the chronic and acute toxicities of the metals. Lead chronic toxicities, mercury chronic toxicities. In that, the persons who are working in the glass industries, who are working in the lead industries, who are working in the paint industries, right? They are all tend to get exposed to those metals, and that metal will be accumulated in the body. You can see here, this is the photograph, hyperkeratosis, which is caused due to arsenic contaminated water. So this area people, they don't have other option. The whole ground is being filled with arsenic. Everything whatever they eat, they live and they drink, it's all being with arsenic. That's why the people who are there in it, they have almost all of them have got like this keratosis, and most of them have got skin lesions, skin cancers also, right? So this is what occupational exposure tend to produce chronic toxicities. Then highly lipid soluble drugs like pesticides, DDTs, carbamates, organophosphorus, organochlorines. So they will be deposited in the lipid tissue. Again, the same thing, redistributed to the tissue, receiving lower rates of blood flow, leads to the termination of the action. Once they go and settle into the lipid tissue, their action will be terminated, right? Because of lower rate of blood flow. The blood flow will be lesser in that lipid tissue, and that's why they will not be giving out signs and symptoms. So the same arsenic deposits in skin, hair, nails, even with a lower level exposure, right? Peripheral vascular diseases, cardiovascular diseases, diabetes mellitus, even neurological diseases, chronic lung diseases, diminished hearing, cerebrovascular diseases. These are all caused due to chronic exposure to the arsenic. And another immunological concept what we see here is, so chronic exposure to the toxin, whenever a toxin or secondary metabolite which is there in the body, once it is metabolized, then a part of that will be excreted, a part will be remain, but body won't accept that as it is. It tends to excrete that out, even if it is a secondary metabolite. In that fight, what happens? A immune system comes in. immune system, the body's own antibodies, they will attack this antigen, that is a chemotoxin, and they will form into immune complex, so that this immune complex is soluble and it can be easily excreted through the urine and feces or even through the sweat. Right. So these immune complexes, which will be formed due to reaction between antigen and antibody. Antigen here is a chemical exposure, a chemotoxin. Once the rate of formation of immune complexes, right? That means the exposure. If the person is daily exposing to a certain chemical, so the formation of immune complexes, the rate will be more. The immune complexes are more in the body, more freely circulating in the body, but clearance of these immune complexes is lesser. And there is, these two are inversely proportional. That means increased rate of formation of immune complexes and decreased rate of clearance of these immune complexes from the body. In that condition, there will be more immune complexes which are freely available in the body. Those complexes will be having tendency to get settled. Initially, they get adhered to the vessels, blood vessels, right? Because of that, the hypersensitivity reactions are produced. You can call delayed hypersensitivity reactions, which are cytokine mediated inflammatory reactions. When this immune complex comes and goes to the cell, there will be production of a protein called a cytokine. So this cytokine will produce some inflammatory reactions, right, which is because of activation of the T cells, right? This is delayed hypersensitivity reactions whenever there is more number of immune complexes are freely moving in the body. So this is the concept of dooshivisha, right? Contact hypersensitivity reactions when dermal exposure to certain chemicals, like I said, wristwatch allergies, footwear dermatitis, and what ornamental dermatitis you can call. So they will all be due to longer duration, and you can also see the kumkuma allergy, that few female used to apply kumkuma over their forehead. That also allergy. That is contact hypersensitivity reaction because of the environmental antigen, serum antigen. So out of this, because of all of this, there will be serum sickness which is produced in the body. Because of this, you see n number of diseases like autoimmune diseases, systematic lupus erythematosus disease, psoriasis is there, lichen planus is there, right? N number of cancers are there. They are all caused because of these things. And drugs with longer plasma half-life, the same thing we have explained. And we have certain reports that use of turpentine, which has caused chronic exposure to turpentine, hypersensitivity reactions, eczema, albuminuria, a number of things, and also quinidine. Most commonly used drugs out of quinidine, which has delirium, cause cardiotoxicity, even, right? QT prolongation, tinnitus, nausea, and prolonged use of H1 blockers, right? Again, they have caused diplopia, urinary retention, insomnia, tinnitus, and then arsenic toxicity, which has caused again immune keratosis, hyperkeratosis. So there are the list is endless, right? We can thousands of such reports are available in the internet, in the database, that the chemical or the drugs which we are using, what are their effects and what toxicological conditions they produce. So then, after all, how to diagnose this? How to diagnose a simple keratosis disease or dooshivisha keratosis, we can call a kushta from normal origin and the dooshivisha kushta. Pandu, which is derived normally, normal disease through process, and which is derived out of a dooshivisha, right? We need to diagnose the dooshivisha etiology and the normal etiology, right? So to diagnose this, we need to focus on the etiology, where we need to trace the poison, the exposure of the chemical to him. You need to ask him food habits, junk foods, or whatever the habit he is having, what chemicals he is using, and environmental factors like whether he is living in the industrial area, or what occupational exposure, like whether he is working in any industries, like that. So you need to trade, you need to frame the questions like that. You need to find out the etiology, correct etiology, that establish the chemical exposure or viruddha ahara exposure in his food habit to cause so and so disease. And also Matruja and Pitruja Bhava is also very important. You don't get anything, any exposure to the persons. For example, in infants 2 to 3 years, babies, we are getting cancer. So what chemicals he is exposed? No, he is not at all exposed to that. But still we have the diseases. So there could be Matruja and Pitruja Bhava. His parents before the conception might have exposed to such chemicals because Kshapayecha Shukran. So it is going to cause teratogenicity also, mutation, gene mutation also. That's why. So because of that teratogenicity, it might have caused congenital anomalies or certain fatal diseases to the children. That is family history you need to take. Drug history, the mother, the pregnant mother, whether she has taken any antihypertensives, antidiabetic, any drug, whatever she's taken during pregnancy, that also you have to inquire all the person who is got with such disease, whether he is in the use, chronic use of any of these drugs. That has to be asked. And drug abuse, like whether he is alcoholic, gutka, smoking, like that, and overuse of cosmetics, you have to check. Finally, the treatment. Dushivishartam susvindam urdam cha adasya shoditam. The treatment of dushivisha is very simple. They have very simplified whatever may be the cause, whatever may be the condition, whatever may be the disease, right? Dushivishartam, if you could prove that dushivisha is the cause for this disease, then dushivishartam susvindam urdam cha adasya shoditam. Urdhva and adasya shodhana is mandatory. Vamana and virechana has to be done. Later on, after this condition, after doing this Vamana and Virechana, you have to go ahead with the Dushivishari Agada. Pippalyo Dhamakam Mamsi Rudra Mela Swarchitaha Swarchaka Kutanatam Natam Kustam Yasti Chandan Gairikam Dushivishari Namna Ayam Nacha Anyatrapi Varate. These are the drugs of Dushivishari Agada. Pippali Mula Dhamaka, that means Katrina, Jatamamsi, Lodra, Yela, Suvarchika, Kutanata, that is Shonyaka, Tagara, Kusta, Yastimadu, Chandana, and Gairika. These are the only drugs. Out of this, you need to prepare Dushivishari Agada, or else it is readily available in the market in the name of Dushivishari Gudika. You can also give that. But I don't think only giving with Dushivishari Agada may improve the condition. We also need some Vyadhi Pratyanika Chikitsa also and Dosha Pratyanika Chikitsa. Like, for example, if psoriasis is the condition, only giving Dushivishari Gudika doesn't it may not give the result, or it may take a longer duration. But disease specific treatment also you need to follow. Along with that, Vishagnaushadhi has to be included. That Acharya tells that the complications of the Dushivisha, Jwareda, Hika, Anaha, Shukra Samskshaya, Shofa, Tisara, Rudroga is the complication of Dushivisha. The untimely, the cardiac toxicities, cardiac elements, what we are getting, like in adult who is of age of 18 to 20 years, he is getting the cardiac infarction. So we need to find out all the etiology for that. Dushivisha could be cause for that, because Rudroga is a complication of Dushivisha. And Unmada is the depressions, right? And Vepatu, Cha Anye Surupadravad. Like these, n number of complications are there. Out of to this, all this, Vishagnaushadhi Kriyam. Tesham Kurvit Vishagnai Raushadaihi Kriyam. That means for all this, Vishagnaushadha treatment has to be followed apart from the normal treatment protocol, right? This is what the Acharya will conclude. And again, prognosis is Sadhyam Atmavataha Sadhyo Yatam Samvatsarat. We cannot promise that each and every disease, like autoimmune disease is there, cancer is there, we will cure that, because this is Dushivisha. Give Vamana, Virechana, give Dushivishari Agada, we will cure that. No, that is not the case, because Acharya Sushruta has clearly told that there are conditions curable, prudent, and which are in early cases of poisoning, relievable, which are in duration of 1 year, which are asadhya when they are for a longer duration and when the person is very enfeebled or kshina. Discussion. So nowadays, whatever we are seeing in the medical fraternity, failure to trace the etiology, nobody thinks that the disease could be caused because of a poison or a toxin, or because of a dooshivisha condition? No. Toxicology has remained only in the textbooks, not has come into the practice at all, unless some acute poisonings. Chronic poisonings, no concept at all. So dooshivisha can give shelter to all of such diseases like autoimmune, oncology, dermatology conditions, endocrinological conditions. All of these we can treat under the umbrella of dooshivisha. There is urgent need to incorporate these Agara principles into clinical practice. So to conclude my talk, so there is a need of analysis of the Hetu. That's why Acharya Charaka has in the first chapter itself, he has told Hetu Linga Aushadha. Hetu is very important. We need to explore and interpret right etiological cause, etiological factor, trace down the chemical, exposure to the environmental contaminant, chemical in food, everything you need to trace out and establish the dooshivisha and whatever may be the disease. If you could establish the Hetu, then treat it as like dooshivisha, and you have to treat with a Vishagna. We cannot promise each and every disease, right? Each and every disease is a cure, complete cure. We can maintain the disease, we can control the disease. This is what we learned in the Sadhya Sadhaka. So take home messages. So before you eat, right, check what's there in it, right? Everything, whatever you are using, you might be using cosmetics and everything, check what is there in it. Know before you eat what you are eating. You are eating what you eat, you are there. Whatever you are eating, based on that only your body will be there. So that is, know what you are eating and know what you are using, the cosmetics or the drugs or the chemicals, what you are using, what is, whether is it necessary to use that. So that, and know what you are, where you are living, the area where you are living. If it is contaminated, then because you need to think on investing in the health. So there is nothing more than health in the life. And also in the beauty, toxic beauty, no beauty shines brighter than that of a good heart. So we need to develop our inner beauty rather than the outer beauty. With this, I would like to thank each one of you, for the viewers and the organizers, and giving me such a very important chance to present before you my views and thoughts. I would like to thank all of them. Thank you very much, sir. Mud sir, we have finished with what presentation?
Yes, sir. Actually, I'm very grateful to you, sir. You have given time for our students. Because of you, the lecture which are given for our students definitely will help in their forthcoming examination as well as in their future also. I'm grateful to you, sir, giving us a beautiful time. On the behalf of our BMG staff, the chairman, and our sir, Dr. Inamdar, sir, I'm really grateful to you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. I would like to extend my thanks to the management, the principal, and the organizers, and also to all the viewers for giving me an opportunity to present before you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Inamdar sir, thank you so much, and Mat sir, thank you so much.
Okay. Once again, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Okay.